Hey guys, welcome back to another Slice of Life episode of Attribution. At one point in our project, which used to be at one point a psychotherapeutic multimedia project to solve the problems, challenges, obstacles in our lives, as well as a self-improvement process to reach life goals and ambitions that we had set for ourselves as well as those around us. Since then, which has now burgeoned, grown, blossomed into a more comprehensive manifestation of ourselves, and it involves a different number of series, analogies, concepts and ideas and practices. Some analogies including a winding river, bowl of cherries, game of survival, business departments. In terms of series, we have series on our schedule on YouTube roughly about 5 times a week, 7 a.m. in the mornings, minus today, which is, by the way, I apologize in advance for the people who may or may not have been expecting an episode today early in the morning. If you can't tell, you probably can't tell because all my recent uploads and all my recent production, in which I've been pretty sick, even feverish for 2 days. I'm probably going to be up down the pipeline for like a month ahead. But anyways, I'm trying to get it up done in the same day. So it's going to be like 8 p.m. at night instead of like 8 a.m. in the morning. So 12-hour delay. But again, as usual, our episodes get uploaded around 7 a.m. to around 7 a.m. in the morning, 5 days a week. And the full schedule is on YouTube. Comes in different formats, right? Different analogies, different formats. So we have on Spotify, YouTube, Patreon, Twitch, and so there's a variety of different media we will use. It's a multimedia project, so Spotify podcasts, videos, live streams, and so on and so forth. And so going forward, today's episode, and I really do have to get this done because honestly, it's a more difficult episode to push out, especially since I'm losing my voice. I apologize if it sounds like I'm a screeching dead cat. It's because I'm having a hard time. It's itchy. It's itchy, so it's kind of painful. But it is important and engaging, and I want to be consistent with the schedule. I'm not trying to force everything out all the time. Health is more important than that, obviously, but I'll mention briefly that Thursday episodes tend to be a little bit more contrived, so I have to find a way to make this work, because unlike the other series, this one takes a lot of, normally something on topic like this requires more scripting or more outlining. You have to plan ahead for this. So Thursday's episodes are usually a little bit more, require more thought and management, maybe creativity as well, and planning. So anyways, let's just dive right into it. So for today, I think the past 2 weeks, our Thursday episode was, like, once again, it was about, some maladaptive forms of social behavior, and that's the general theme of a Thursday. It's about crowd behavior, human attitudes, beliefs, and the way individuals in society interact with each other. It's a lot of sociology, a lot of psychology, a lot of maybe pop cultural trends, but analyzed at a more in-depth level, and usually with an added interest and goal in terms of sharing ways to manage any sorts of destructive or negative behavior incoming from external sources, which usually is other people, really, whether it's individuals or small groups or entire community that's kind of coming after you for whatever reason. Doesn't mean that it's always unwarranted. Sometimes you could really do something awful, and then it's kind of like, well, you kind of reap what you sow. But at the same time, there's so many, it's complicated. More often than not, it's usually because it's usually because of a myriad of factors that are outside of your control that don't actually have anything to do with you committing something awful to warrant it. Oftentimes it does involve basically some tit for tat escalation where multiple parties are involved, and some of those parties end up committing more damage than they should, and so it's very unbalanced. It's disproportionate. The amount of harassment or abuse or violence or whatever is usually skewed in some way, and this is really just a way to express what sort of strategies, mindsets, or understanding can help you if you happen to be one of those who are more on the no one's truly innocent, but more on the innocent side. So about those people who kind of keep to themselves and then just find other people's baggage or projections of insecurity or hatred or fears dumped onto them. So this is what we talk about here on Thursdays. Although it's going to expand into something less goal-oriented, I would say, in the future. Very soon. And so today's episode is kind of like that. Today's episode is definitely a little bit more of a further development. This is the first time on a Thursday that I'm going to, well, first of all, let's look at the back. And again, it's hard of hearing right now, or my voice sounds kind of weird and raspy, is because I am sick. I apologize. So behind me, first of all, something nice is that, and you'll see this in like maybe a month or two down the road, or maybe just a month, is that I'm going to release a Sunday episode where it kind of talks about the background, how that's relevant, and we're kind of like in a bar right now with your drinking buddies. Well, if you do that kind of thing, it's not. So there's some context behind that. Sorry. I just want to see how loud. Okay. It does work if I turn to this side here. Alright, so yeah, so the background is switched. But also on top of that, and it reflects a bit of like again, it's like a talk about people to people behavior, misdemeanors, mistreatment, but also just more objectively general behavior between individuals trying to achieve their own sort of self-interested goals, some more altruistic than others, some more self-interested than others, or narcissistic, I suppose you could say. But narcissism is also sometimes misused because it's become a bit of a buzzword. So is empathy, right? But they do have ultimately technical meaning, and that's the technical meaning that I'm referring to here, not the vernacular. Okay. All right. So today, what we're going to discuss, right? The first was the photo change, and once again, this is good because it feels more like there is context behind it. I in fact at a bar pub with a couple of friends, and I've talked about that and have it scheduled up for like a month ahead. It's going to be a Sunday series on like people, meaningful relationships, fun times, good vibes. Thursdays is very different, obviously, right? But then the second thing is, if you can't tell, I'm thinking of going forward Thursdays, because of the nature of the topics of Thursdays, they do involve a little bit more, I guess, emotionally charged or heated topics. Can be more controversial. Can be more, as a result, it's more relatable. Oftentimes, people will experience this very intensely one way or another, whether they've been the one persecuting others or they've been persecuted themselves, whether unfairly or justified. It's, everyone's either been on the attacking end or the receiving end, either been on the offense or on the defense of, this push or pull between interpersonal dynamics, people trying to get their way by using you or stepping on you, or whether or not you've been that kind of person, which, if you can't tell, this episode is really a lot more like my channel, and this project leans more on the side of saying basically fuck you to the people who like to do that kind of stuff. again, there's nuance, right? There are appropriate times for you to do that, but not across the board. And we don't appreciate people doing that everywhere in the public setting to people who have not, again, informed voluntary consent, haven't opted in on that. But if they have, and there's a lot of settings for that, like, you know, an example is right there, a bar pub, you should expect that kind of behavior. Maybe at a sports game, maybe at a competitive, you know, atmosphere or arena, a competitive game. A sports game is an example of that. You know, friendly banter between you and your boys, or you and your girlfriends, just banter. In a closed setting, in a private household, at a family reunion. It's another, like, I just gave like 5 examples. Another would be like a rap battle scene, you know, like your underground rap battle. Everyone is supposed to diss each other out and be vicious. So there's many examples where destructive, negative, even borderline violent behavior. Another one, great one, because I love martial arts and I love UFC as well. So MMA and stuff like that, right? It's a controlled, violent sport, and there are rules, and it's very competitive, and you should be there, right, trying to win. And it does mean that you're gonna get beat the fuck out of, and I'm not condemning that at all, within the right settings and appropriate settings. So, just like I said, there's a type of one, comedy show, okay, a very raw comedy show. So, but generally speaking, we're not expecting this to happen in public, in the workplace setting. At libraries and so on and so forth, and that's kind of the general context dependent, paying attention to the atmosphere, the settings, the environment, to various factors and circumstances is one of the key, one of many key points that we try to emphasize on our project, and as my own personal ethics and values, and for those who happen to agree, who join in on this kind of multimedia project and extension or manifestation, okay? In which, again, it manifests as a podcast, as live streams, as videos, and so on and so forth. Storytelling, anecdotes, analysis and breakdowns, you know, and so on and so forth. Today what we're gonna do, like I said, going forward, the format isn't just changing in terms of like the atmosphere and the scenery behind us being inside the bar pub, but also we now have some things that we're going to probably show. We're going to probably start pulling topics, probably from multiple perspectives within a single episode. This one today most likely won't be able to cover more than one source. The source that you see on the top over here is just going to be one video, I suppose, on YouTube, and then it's about the comments. It's not about the video topic. It's about a conversation with someone who disagrees, not fully, but I think in some core ways we disagree, and having a conversation with this person, and and we'll just be running through some arguments that we give back and forth, and trying to reach some consensus, and also some places where we have mutual disagreement, and clarifying that, you know, this is, we agree to disagree, that's what you'll have. Maybe in the future we'll come to some better understanding. So, like I said, I'm losing my voice, so if it's hard to hear the nature of the content, of course, this is all relevant, like I said, to the core theme of a Thursday, which is mostly on human behavior, the way people treat each other, and to get ahead in life, to achieve their goals, to acquire power in a social, political, monetary, material, perceptual fathom. You know, there's a lot of ways that power manifests in society. But power isn't the only reason why people do things, but it's one of the major reasons why people do it. And again, this is to be clear, one of the reasons why I do the Thursday podcast, Thursday episodes, is to, well, share information with the intention of at least openly giving useful ideas, strategies, and suggestions, potential wisdom, but none of it is real. You know, advice can only be taken by you. I don't give advice, obviously, because it's not It's specific to every person individually and your circumstances, and I'm never going to know what your specific circumstances are. So you're going to have to make that decision on your own. But we're going to, of course, run through the information that's available through my own storytelling and personal experiences and things that we've learned in conversations with other people. Conventional wisdom is, it's basically with the intention of helping you to properly navigate challenging, difficult people, particularly those who are maybe a little bit, again, more on the destructive side of humanity, who prefer to use traits of hostility, malice, narcissism, vanity, sociopathy, and so on and so on to get ahead at your expense, right? Which isn't necessarily awful in itself, because I listed earlier the contexts in which it's still appropriate within a controlled setting. So, but this is with the intention, because I've realized, again, fairly recently, that I guess it was like partly the newer generation, but it didn't matter. The newer generation, there was a lot of the newer generation was oblivious to all of this in the downtown core. I mean, it's a recent thing, but it's also been repeated through history so many times that I thought that people would have learned, including the new generation, and I was wrong. That they would be, during the pandemic, people would have like wisened up and stuff. I was wrong about that. People just didn't really make use of resources or make good enough observations or listen to conventional wisdom or try to earn some street smarts or anything to realize what other people can really truly be like, including themselves, how awful they themselves can be like if they just loosen the chains, metaphorically, and allow the worst sides, the shadow, the monster within, to come out. And again, the hostility, the lack of self-awareness, the lack of accountability coming out from so many people. A lot of young ones, but it didn't really matter what generation they were from. X, boomers, Z, Y, millennials, alpha, beta, alpha, Gen Z, it doesn't matter. It was just a human thing. People were being awful. And so let's talk about that, right? Because this episode, the video, finally, if we're going to get to it now, that a lot of that was kind of introductory stuff, I suppose. Not introductory, but the general themes of the episode. So this is one of the general themes of